All right, we got 2 fights left for you. They are both professional fights. Our co-main event is up first. There is no title on the line for this one, as we've had a couple of great title fights and one coming up still, and that is Alex Gilpin defending his title. But before that happens, we take a look at Alex Snake Eyes Cooney, who is making his way into the cage tonight for our first of 2 professional bouts after what has been a very exciting amateur card and a lot of great stuff that we have seen tonight. We have seen some guys called out, squared off. We've seen some previews for some fights that are coming up. We've had some UFC fighters. Of course, we have had the Machine with us all night long as well, calling the fights with us. This has been a great night of fights. 2 more fights to go as Gerald Mearshart is with me, and so far so good, and we got 2 professional fights up next.
That's right. I'm excited to see these pro fighters. It's been a great card tonight. You know, now when we get to the pros, we get to add elbows on the ground. It makes a big difference. You saw some of those mounted positions and positions on top. When you add elbows into the equation, it makes a huge difference. And now we have a fighter in Alex Cooney, who I've trained with before, scrappy young kid. Excited to see him get in there, and excited to see his opponent, Jose Vega, who trains at the gym that I first started at, Strasser's Freestyle Academy, way back in 2007.
Good stuff, yeah, so you can be familiar with these fighters. Cooney is in now. Let's check out Jose Vega. All right, here comes Jose Vega, a 1-1 professional record. His last fight, though, a win. That was back on June 25th. He fights out of Waukegan, Illinois. If you don't know where that is, it is near Chicago. That's all you need to know. In fact, people from Waukegan will probably tell you they're from Chicago, as everyone in the Chicago suburbs does. So, Jose Vega, as you take a look at the tail of the tape, Vega and Cooney, we will get the introductions right now from Chris Garrity.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first professional bout this evening is scheduled for 3 rounds in our flyweight division. Introducing first this man fighting out of the Coliseum Bar, red corner. He stands in at 5'9" tall. He weighed in at 124.8 pounds. He represents Unified Martial Arts and hails from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. In 5 professional bouts, he has 3 victories. All 3 of his victories come by way of submission. Please welcome to the cage, Alex Cooney. His opponent, this man fighting out of the Harley-Davidson of Madison, blue corner. He has 2 professional bouts, 1 victory, 1 submission. He stands in at 5'5" tall. He weighed in 124.8 ready pounds from Waukegan, Illinois, representing Dave Strasser's Freestyle Academy, Jose Vega.
First pro fight of the evening, Vega and Cooney. We go back to the flyweights, and again, a little bit of a different look for pro fights than what we have seen in all of our AMI fights tonight. Along with Chris Garrity and the UFC's Gerald Mearshart, I'm Rich Reynolds. Here we go, cage side for the first of 2 pro fights. And Chris, you were talking before the fights, you were excited about this one.
Because I really like Jose Vega, and again, it all depends which Vega shows up. He was a Golden Gloves boxer before he even get into mixed martial arts. Trains with some of the beasts down at Strasser's. Started actually under my brother at the Waukegan school, and all my brother did before he retired was just rave about how good Jose was as a fighter, both standing and on the ground. But he's got a disease that used to come around in the Strasser camp, and I saw it with my brother and some other fighters, where their gym training didn't translate into the cage the way it should. Mentally, sometimes they weren't in the fight. So as any coach for Jose will tell you, we'll see which Jose shows up. If it's the good Jose, he can't be beat. If it's the timid Jose, he could be in trouble. But he could be one of the young, exciting fighters we have here.
Now coming forward, a good little grappling exchange there. Jose, you know, kept his composure on the ground, got right back up. He's got a good corner in Jamil Massoud, a WEC vet, a very good mixed martial artist in his own right. Here comes Vega with a hard right hand. Trying to look to get some action going here in the first round.
And Jamil is one of the more seasoned veterans in Wisconsin, not only WEC, but fought a lot in Japan, all over the world, and won a lot of big fights he was brought in to lose, too, which was nice.
For sure, and a really good coach. Trained me a lot when I first started my career. You know, everyone that he's touched usually turns out all right, and I've done all right myself, so, you know, it's just a big advantage having him in your corner.
So you take a look at Vega and...
Oh,
Cooney
Vega
right
takes
now,
the back. Looking to get that rear naked choke. He's got both hooks in. He's trying to get that left arm around the chin. He's kind of stuck under the opposite armpit right now.
That was a big mistake by Cooney to allow Jose to jump on his back. And you saw how slick Jose's submission game is. He was able to transition really nice. But like you said, he's also backed up against the cage, which isn't going to help either. But he's in good position either to cause a little bit of damage, maybe work his way out, and then get that arm under the chin.
I was amazed at the quickness of Vega that he was able to do it, as he has been slick so far, and again trying to get that rear naked choke on Cooney. Vega also looked very comfortable as a fighter. You talked about the Golden Gloves background, and that seems to have served him well so far in the fight, as now it is on the mat, and again a little bit different is what we could see the fighters do here. So the difference between what they could do amateur-wise and pro-wise is what, guys?
Well, you're going to be able to see elbows in both positions, whether standing or on the ground, just not to the head on the ground. Knees to the head also you can do on the feet, which you can't do in amateur fighting. So those are a couple of the major things you're going to see. Amateur fighters aren't allowed to throw elbows at all, and as we saw CFFC 10, what Dennis Anderson did in his pro fight there, elbows can be utilized as such a weapon. These guys are both, in not only is Jose a striker, but he's a submission guy, but also Cooney has 5 pro fights. His 3 wins were all submission victories, so Cooney's not going to panic here either.
Vega doing a good job with the right hand.
Really working for that rear naked choke. You know, Cooney's doing a good job defending it. As you said, very submission savvy himself. Vega with the body triangle in right now. If I'm Vega, I might try to transition to top position and land some more devastating strikes. However, he is still technically winning the fight. He's doing a little bit of damage, working for that neck. So we'll see if he can get this submission here and kind of wear Cooney out.
And Cooney did the right thing, turning over to the bottom foot on the body triangle. It lets a little bit of pressure off of the midsection. When it's turned the other way or you're flat on your back, it basically is like a vice. It is just closing you off from the midsection. And he did the right thing, turning, and actually got Jose to release, and has now done a good job into a guard position.
Yep. And Cooney's going to look to use that reach advantage in his height and his length to posture up and land some good ground and pound and guard and start scoring some points here in this first round.
Reversal by Cooney on top, and now they break it up. Both guys back on their feet. Still about 45 seconds left in round number 1. As you see, fast and furious action. I tell you what, both guys very quick. This time, though, it is Cooney gaining the edge on Vega.
Good takedown from Cooney, avoided any strikes. Jose actually looked to not want to have any part of the striking game there and allowed himself to be taken down. He's just put himself in a guillotine to get top control. This is not good for Jose Vega.
Vega's got to put his head down and basically do a headstand tripod on his head, but that is deep in on his neck. Now he's starting to do the right defense, still a very tight choke.
Mistake there by Vega. Yeah, 10 seconds left in the round. He's got to hold on as Cooney has him strapped in pretty good. We are nearing the end of the round, and saved by the bell is Jose Vega, as he made a mistake late in round number 1, but he's able to survive it. We'll go to round number 2 here in our first pro fight of the evening on Chosen Few Fighting Championships number 11 on Wisconsin's 57 Sports. Well, you guys have been talking about it all night long. When we get to these lighter weights, we see some fast and furious action, lots of energy expended by both fighters in round number 1. Who had the better of it?
Well, this might go to who left the lasting impression with the judges. Right here, what you're seeing in this replay is you're seeing Vega back control, doing damage, going for the submission, but Cooney did a great job reversing it. Not only reversing, but then after the stand-up, getting a takedown and ending the fight on top. That leaves a good impression with the judges, and I would have no problem with the judges at this point giving him round number 1, so we'll see.
We go to round number 2 now as Vega, again, you were surprised how quickly he gave up his striking position and went right into wrestling there for a while. Why did he do that? Is that part of the plan breaking down, or the gym training not translating for Strassers?
He could have felt comfortable there. Maybe he felt he had a little bit of an advantage on the ground from before. Maybe he just can't quite find his reach here with a longer fighter. You know, it could be any number of things, but right now Cooney looking comfortable to stay long. Anytime he does come in, Cooney's throwing those knees up. Very smart, very good technique. So I think Vega's just being a little cautious of that. Needs to open up with his hands a little bit, start throwing a lot of combinations, more like he just did there, get inside and try to land some punches.
And I like the outside leg kick that Cooney was throwing too, because it just keeps Vega at that distance so he can use that reach and keep striking the way he is. Cooney is doing a great job keeping that distance at exactly his reach so that Vega can't get inside on him.
One thing we're seeing from both fighters as well, and I think this is what you see when you get to the pro ranks, you're seeing more complete fighters than we even saw at the amateur level. We saw some good skill, but these guys seem to be very adept at striking, very skilled once they hit the mat as well, as both guys are showing off a lot of skill here in this fight.
Well, and nowadays, to get your pro card in Wisconsin, you have to have at least 5 victories before they'll even consider you as a professional fighter. So that means that these guys had scrapped as amateurs in the cage, got their 5 victories, and now obviously you see a guy like Cooney with 5 professional fights. Vega has 2 professional fights. So yeah, you're going to see a higher level of skill, but also you're going to see a higher level of really just everything from strategy to wind to cardio to body shape to movement in the cage. Again, as much as I talked up Vega, I'm not in love with his movement so far, but you know, it's now we're again in this stalemate position. We'll see who's going to have the better of the ground game with 2 pretty decent submission artists.
Well, you asked the question right at the top of the fight, which Jose Vega are we going to get? Which Jose Vega are we seeing?
You know, he hasn't quit. I haven't seen anything, but I also, you know, it's tough for me because I haven't been able to witness his training like I had in the past. I can only go by what his coaches were telling me. And his coaches had just sheer confidence in him, so I knew that training had went well. My brother had rolled with him 2 Sundays ago and said he looked good, so I just expected him to come out like gangbusters. And, you know, but, you know, we also might not be giving Cooney enough credit. Again, 5 professional fights, 3 subs. Cooney wasn't a joke. I mean, this fight was matched up very well.
Cooney right now on top. He has been in control here for a while and much of round number 2 as Jose Vega being pushed up against the cage right now. And a nice job by Cooney again to basically gain control of the fight here in the 2nd round.
Yeah, he's doing really well pressuring in with his head, pinning his opponent against the cage. Just a lot of downward and forward pressure into that cage to secure top position. You know, Vega needs to get up right now. He needs to, submissions don't seem to be working for either side. So if I was Vega, I'd try to get to my feet or get a reversal, get on top and look to land some good ground and pound. Cooney's winning the fight right now. If he wanted to put a stamp on it, it's time to posture up, look to pass to a more dominant position and land some heavier strikes, maybe get some elbows and guard. So, but you know, still a tough fight. They're both jockeying position very well. So if you make one mistake, either fighter could turn the tide very quickly.
And the one thing you don't see much anymore in mixed martial arts is the stand-up. We used to have a lot of stalls in the sport when the skill sets on the ground weren't at the level they are now. Now guys are moving their hips around so much, throwing so many strikes that you see these fights stay on the ground the way they are right now. I saw a little bit of inactivity, but I don't see any reason Tom will need to stand this fight up. So as Gerald said, Jose has to figure a way out from under him, and he's kind of backed up against the pad in the cage there the way it is. So what, Gerald, is he going to have to do to stand up at this point, especially with the pressure Cooney is putting on him right now?
Well, he's doing half right what he's supposed to be doing. If I'm Vega, I need to get my back a little more flat, get my feet in his hips, start making some space, push him away, get my back up against the cage and try to frame myself against the cage to stand back up. At the very least, maybe get my feet in his hips and push him really far away so I can do it in one movement. If not, slowly get to a knee, then to a leg, and work my way up the cage. And like you said, a lot less stand-ups going on because the guys are a lot more well-versed on the ground, for one. And two, the crowd is, as MMA grows, the crowd gets more savvy and they understand what's going on, so there's less of a need to stop it when there's still constant action like this.
Final 10 seconds here in round number 2, and Cooney dominant here in the second round, our third and final round. Coming up next, Vega and Cooney here on 57 Sports. And round number 2 action from it, as it seems like it's been Alex Cooney who has taken control of this fight.
And that first replay they showed when Cooney threw that left high kick, if he would have actually put something behind it, it almost looked like he was pawing it out there. If he'd have put something behind that kick, it would have landed pretty flush, because Jose has been dropping that hand. So I'm wondering if that's something that the corner of Cooney has seen, because that high kick is there, as you saw in the replay. He just didn't put anything behind it. He just kind of touched him.
Definitely. Cooney almost a little too loose with his strikes. If he puts a little more steam on him, could change the tide of this fight and really secure the victory for him.
Third and final round coming up, and conditioning could come into play here as well, as this our co-main event, as it's Vega trying to do some wrestling here in round number 3 to start it off.
That bounce against the cage. How many times have we seen a guy rush in out of control, his opponent bounces off the cage, and then that guy ends up on bottom? It's just, it's an out of control kind of a desperation move, and you see that Vega is now stuck in the same position he was in the second round. He's got to make something happen, and he did right there. That was good.
Yep, he got the feet and the hips, got the stand up, and now he does need to close the distance, but he doesn't need to keep going forward. He needs to get close enough to land that big overhand right, really use his eyes to find the target, because Cooney, like you said, some of his strikes aren't all the way there. Now he falls for a guillotine. Doesn't seem to have it under the chin. If I'm Vega's corner, I'm telling him he needs to reversal, no more dropping to bottom. He needs to be on top and landing strikes, period.
Cooney able to get out of it quickly. He is on top right now once again, and that is where he has been for most of this fight.
Jose did look determined there to actually create some, separate basically the distance between them, come together, throw a couple strikes, but Cooney did the right thing. He got in there close, got Vega on his back, and he knows he can ride out a victory. At least 2 rounds are going to go to him if he stays in this position.
Definitely. He's had more of the top control. You know, he's the longer fighter. He seems to be comfortable on top, not necessarily doing a big amount of damage, but working enough. Now he's got his hand under, maybe looking for a head arm choke. Vega maybe looking for a guillotine. Again, if I'm Vega in his corner, he's got to use that to make some space with his hips. He needs to prioritize getting up. He needs to be on his feet, landing punches and kicks, or on top.
Yeah, we're in short time right now. Vega is not going to win this fight unless he makes a dramatic move right here. He's going to have to take a chance, Gerald. He's got to do something that could put himself in trouble just to get out of this position.
Great job to capture all the pictures here tonight by our camera crew as they are on top of the apron and grabbing all of this action for you. You see how close you can get right here and take a look at the struggle that is Cooney and Vega here in our first of 2 pro fights.
Looking for that arm triangle again.
Yep, now what Cooney's looking to do right now, he has to free up his right leg. He's got his head underneath the left armpit of Vega, and he wants to eventually get his body on the same side as that arm and then slowly rotate his body so that Vega's shoulder is pinching into his neck, as well as Cooney's own shoulder on the other side, creating a choke. Now we see Vega turning and trying to defend as best he can. Again, like you said, Chris, he needs to open up. He needs to do something. It's time to get desperate. Time to throw caution to the wind and make something happen.
Inside of 2 minutes for this fight, and Vega has not done much since about the middle of round number 1. Since that time, it has been Cooney who's been on top and in control.
And give all the credit to Cooney. We can talk about how much I talked about Vega and how good he could be, but it doesn't matter because Cooney has implemented his game plan perfectly here. He knew how to beat Jose Vega, which is this way, dominant, top control. Like Gerald said, there's not a ton of damage, but he doesn't need it because Vega can't escape at this point.
Definitely, and this is also the difference, another big difference between pros and amateurs. Again, these are both professional fighters. Even though this is, you know, a smaller local show, they're still tough. They've still been fighting for a long time. It's hard to put real damage on a professional fighter because we're so well adept at protecting ourselves. So Cooney doing everything in his power to try and finish this fight, but even on bottom, Vega can defend himself. Both tough guys, and now Cooney here looking to land some elbows and really put a stamp on this victory.
Inside of 1 minute now for this fight. Jose Vega in desperation mode. He's got to do something to turn this fight around, and from the position that he is in, he is finding that very hard to do.
Again, Cooney's pressure is fantastic right here. He isn't giving Jose a moment to breathe. Jose hasn't been able to find any sort of opening that Gerald and I have been talking about, because anything he does, any move of the hips, anything, he's actually been able. But right here, he's got the triangle set, Gerald. He's got to pull that arm across.
If he pulls that head down, this could very well be what he needed. And he's got to keep the pressure on. That is a tight triangle.
Mistake by Cooney. 10 seconds left in the round. Vega with the triangle set. You take a look at the ref who was looking to get in. Final few seconds. Cooney looking to hang on. Where is the bell? There it is. Cooney survives. Holy,
Cooney's out. He's out. But the bell rang. The bell rang, and the ref did not stop the fight, and he didn't tap. We're going to have to see how the ref calls this fight. But Cooney actually could win this fight by the rules because the ref did not stop it, and the bell rang. So we're going to have to get a call on this one.
The ref kept looking in to stop it, wasn't sure, didn't make the call. Cooney is out. When Vega broke out of that triangle, Cooney was out right at the bell. Holy cow, that is, I mean, something you rarely see. Yeah, was he saved by the bell or not? We are going to find out when we come back. You are watching Chosen Few Fighting Championships, number 11, and you are watching Wisconsin's 57 Sports. An amazing finish here to our fight, and wow, oh wow, it seemed like Cooney was in control the entire fight, makes a mistake, and Vega's able to get the triangle on him in the last few seconds. You take a look here on the replay, and all we can see is the ref's back there, but Cooney was out. The bell rang, and I think we're going to a decision, even though Cooney was choked out.
Yeah, it's a very unique situation. You know, this barely ever happens. The ref couldn't see Cooney's face the right way, apparently. Couldn't tell he was unconscious. You know, Cooney never tapped out. It'll be interesting to see if we go to a decision here or if Vega gets a submission victory.
And what kind of impact does that have on the judges? It seems like Cooney was in control, but it's almost hard as a judge to say, yeah, that guy won when he's laying there choked out at the end of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, even if they see that after and want to change their mind and make it a 10-8 round, it'd still be a draw in my opinion. So that's a very, very interesting situation. You know, how do you go back and tell when he was unconscious, or what's the official ruling on that?
Wow, very strange situation, one you rarely see in MMA, but it seems like for the moment that Alex Cooney has been saved by the bell. We are still waiting for the judge's decision here and how they are going to score it. He was able to last. The ref did not count him out. He did not stop the fight, so it's going to go to the cards from what we are told.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of professional flyweight action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Struck scores the bout 30-27, while Judge Janicek and Sabatis have it both 29-28 in favor of your winner by unanimous decision, and fighting out of the red corner, Alex Cooney.
Well, being choked out at the end didn't seem to affect the judges at all.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where the ref didn't call it, didn't stop it. You know, they ended up letting it go, so it is what it is. If you can get that triangle in, should have got it in sooner.
Very easily could have gone the other way, but time ran out on Jose Vega. Wow, Alex Cooney, who dominated most of the fight, ends up needing to survive all the way to the very last second to defeat Jose Vega. You don't see fights like that very often. All right, coming up, it is our main event of the evening. Alex Gilpin defending his title at 145 pounds against the natural Nick Compton. That is next. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The Chosen Few on 57 Sports.